In this hour of holy stillness, we gather to honor the life of Charlotte Morrison. In this hour of holy stillness, we remind ourselves of the blessing her life offered us in her too brief time with us. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer ourselves for sharing the weight of each other's grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer the strength of our love to help others survive pain and grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we call forth from each other the power we offer out of life, out of loss, out of love. Come, let us worship together. Our opening reading is a poem by Dorothy Monroe. She wrote, "Death is not too high a price to pay for having lived. Mountains never die, nor do the seas or rocks or endless skies. Through countless centuries of time, they stay eternal, deathless, yet they never live. If choice there were, I would not hesitate to choose mortality. Whatever fate demanded in return for life, I'd give, for never to have seen the fertile plains, nor heard the winds, nor felt the warm sun on sands beneath the salty sea, nor touched the hands of those I love. Without these, all the gains of timelessness would not be worth a day of living and loving, come what may." And to begin our remembrances, Clarence will come forward.
Well, you know, it's hard to know what to say. Words can never encompass anything as vast as a life. And stories are just little flags that are stuck here and there on top of a life. But I'll tell you some stories anyway. Charlotte grew up in Michigan. As a child, she lived on a farm. She remembers carrying bowls of warm cream from the kitchen through the snow and the freezing air out to the barn. The cream was for the barn cats. There was a whole tribe of them. And of course, there were kittens. Charlotte played with the kittens. She scooped them up in her arms. She gave them names. She gave them rides in her little red wagon. She always loved cats. Years later, when she pulled up stakes and loaded up her car and drove south to Knoxville, her big yellow cat, Cinnamon, wrapped itself around her neck and hung on for dear life for 700 miles. Charlotte was coming down here to get a master's degree. She was also coming down here to marry me, but she didn't know that yet. Later, when she said yes to my proposal, she also said, "My cat's part of this deal." Her father used to take Charlotte fishing. Sometimes this was ice fishing. We don't have ice fishing down here, which is just as well, let me tell you. Up there, you go out on this lake frozen so hard that a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. And you drill a hole in the ice using this giant auger with a hand crank on top. And then you sit around the hole on upturned apple crates and drop in your lines and you wait. It's ridiculously easy to catch fish this way. Plus you freeze, plus you have to clean them. Now, Charlotte's most exciting childhood memory was set in a frozen Michigan winter. It was the day before Christmas. Charlotte's mother was busy preparing food in the kitchen. Charlotte was helping. "Go outside and play," her mother told her. Mother said that a lot back then. It was really cold that day. Their house sat on the banks of the Kalamazoo River, and the river was frozen, all except the middle channel, which was still flowing. All along the edges of the river was ice. Now I need to tell you something. There was this boy who lived up the street, Butch. Butch was in Charlotte's Sunday school class. Somehow, Butch always managed to sit behind Charlotte. And when nobody was looking, plink, he'd knock off Charlotte's hat. Charlotte would glare at him and straighten the hat, and then, when nobody was looking, blink, off would go the hat again. Now, this happened a lot. Butch was a real pest. He was a mosquito, a gnat, a blowfly. To Charlotte, he was the worst person in the world. Okay, so now, Charlotte's playing outside, all bundled up against the cold, when down from the river comes this cry, "Help! Help!" And there, floating downstream on a block of ice, like in some cartoon, was Butch. Now, immediately, plink, plink, a little devil appeared on one shoulder and a little angel appeared on the other shoulder. And the little devil says to Charlotte, "Would it really be so bad, really so bad, if that boy, Butch, continued merrily on his way gently down the stream?" But the angel won out, and Charlotte raised the alarm, and Charlotte's father ran down to the river and fished Butch back to the shore with a long pole. They took Butch inside, warmed him up, fed him cookies, and then Butch ran home without a word of thanks. He never looked Charlotte in the eye again, but he never bothered her either. Another story. Charlotte had a master's degree in computer science, and she had a fine analytical mind. She used to work at ORNL, and one day some scientists brought her this computer program they had been using for years to analyze neutron absorption data. They suspected there was something wrong with it. The results seemed just slightly off. They asked Charlotte if she could look at it. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, going into somebody else's code and trying to track down an obscure bug is kind of like searching for secret ciphers in chicken tracks. But Charlotte found the bug and she corrected it, and the scientists later published a paper correcting 7 years' worth of data and thanked Charlotte. Well, there's so many things I remember, and there are so many things I've forgotten. Here's one more memory. After we decided to get married, we went out to celebrate, and we got pizza. I even remember what kind of pizza it was. Pineapple and ham. Yeah, we were young, we didn't know any better, it never happened again. This was always our joke on ourselves. But we got married anyway, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Charlotte, sweetheart, I don't know if there's a life after death, and I don't know if we'll ever meet again, but near, far, wherever you are, I am grateful that you shared your portion of eternity with me. Rest in peace, my beloved.
Next reading is Camping Among the Tombs by John Muir. On no subject are our ideas more warped and pitiable than on death. Instead of the sympathy, the friendly union of life, of death, so apparent in nature, we are taught that death is an accident, a deplorable punishment for the oldest sin, the archenemy of life. Town children especially are steeped in this death orthodoxy. Thus, death becomes fearful. But let children walk with nature. Let them see the beautiful blendings and communions of death and life, their joyous, inseparable unity, as taught in woods and meadows, plains and mountains, and streams of our blessed star. And they will learn that death is stingless indeed, and as beautiful as life, and that the grave has no victory, for it never fights. All is divine harmony. And now we'll have music. We'll now have a time of open sharing. If anyone has a memory or a story or a reflection you would like to share, you're invited to come forward. And Debbie Ellis has offered to be the first.
I did not offer. It's funny, I can't think of Charlotte without thinking of Clarence, too. It was a package deal with them, always. Peanut butter and jelly, or something like that. They played poker at my house for many years. I actually called them Team Morrison, because they were always together. Not every couple I know have the status of a team, but they were. And they were a threat, speaking of poker. Charlotte scared me more than Clarence, though. Sorry, Clarence. But she was a snake in the grass. She'd look so innocent and sweet. Then the next thing you know, she'd get this mischievous smirk and put down a full house or something, completely dominating the hand and taking a bunch of chips. She relished the sneakiness, it seemed, and she had no mercy. I know she played a lot of games all the time, and I wonder if she was the same in those situations too. I suspect so, but I was only a poker player. As long as I've known Charlotte, and that has been through the poker group, really, Charlotte has used a cane and had physical limitations from the impact of a stroke. Clarence always took care of her and helped her if needed, at the poker table and elsewhere. That's why I was really surprised when I read about her in the obituary and heard about and what I heard from Clarence. I had always respected her and Clarence because it was obvious how smart they are, both of them, but after even more details about her schooling and jobs and their camping and stuff, I'm even more in awe. She was just a nice lady, and that's what it was. She was a true lady, classy, refined, and gracious. I love Charlotte. I don't remember her ever complaining either, and that's something I know a lot about because I'm a complainer and whine all the time. So I really admire that about her. We should all be more like her. Team Morrison also had a great sense of humor. I love to hear them laugh, especially after a particularly nasty or sneaky hand. They relished the win, even against each other. But in other things too, they laughed easily. Both of them are pretty funny. There's a photo of Charlotte with a little mustache drawn above her lip. It was from some event we had at poker. I think it was a bachelor party for one of our poker players. I love that photo because it just epitomizes her sense of humor. I don't know if you use that one, but I think it's my favorite. It just seems so incongruent with how I usually picture Charlotte, the sophisticated and classy lady. I'm gonna miss Charlotte. It just won't be the same. And I feel very sorry for Clarence having lost his partner of so long. I know what it's like, maybe not 48 years worth, which is remarkable, but enough. It just sucks. And even though it's hard to admit that her death probably was a good thing with how she was at the end, it doesn't change the fact that it's just really hard. Clarence, I'll try to help you with what I can, but there's not a whole lot that will make things better. That takes time. It'll be very strange for you, and I know you've been feeling that already. I'm so sad for you. I'm going to miss Team Morrison, but things change. And I hate most change, especially this kind of loss. Please know there are many people that care about you and cared about Charlotte. You guys were a quiet couple, kind of flying under the radar. Like I said, Charlotte was a snake in the grass. but she was a nice snake. And I'm glad she's resting now. Of course, if there is something after all this life stuff, I guarantee that Charlotte has found the game room, and she's probably got a little grin on her face, about to whoop somebody's ass of whatever she's playing now. I hope so.
Let me turn around. I was one of the rare lucky people that got to be in small group with Charlotte, and we were also lucky that we had Judy Ann Langston being our facilitator. Now, you know how quiet Charlotte was. She didn't voluntarily tell you her stories, but Clarence let me know not to tell the one about the ice, because he was. But I got to hear all those wonderful growing up stories on the farm. And so that was a real privilege. Gaming with her, however, I don't know that I ever won a game, ever. I'd tell Eunice that, and Eunice would win some, but I never did. And we played Scrabble and Upwards, and I don't even know all the games we played, and she always won. So she's lucky I continued to even bother. It was not good for my ego. And I really appreciate Clarence letting us know when we hadn't heard from her in a while, because we gamed daily online, and it was, you know, what we did during the lockdown. And I miss her. Thank you.
Just a quick note. I only knew Charlotte here at church. She always had a sweet smile, and I always loved greeting her and Clarence. Just wanted Clarence to know we're here for you, whatever you need.
So I think Clarence and Charlotte, I remember the day they walked into the church. And we always had in common our sons. And we always talked about Aaron. When you were in San Francisco, we would ask them, "How are you doing?" She loved you with all her heart.
And this is a little bit of a continuation of that. When our Kevin, who was the same age as Aaron, when they were in high school, they weren't the most outgoing, big man on campus kind of guys, if I may say that about you, Aaron. But they were just so solid and funny and smart and kind, and they connected with each other, and it was a good friendship from what we could see. And I'm so sorry it has to be for this occasion, Aaron, but it's so wonderful to see you and remember you and your mom, and to honor your father for being such a good father. And your mom loved you so much, and thank you for helping make our son stronger and more himself in his difficult time, teenage years. So thank you, Aaron.
Just to add another side of Charlotte, she was one of the original volunteers at the caring table and served for many years at the caring table. At the caring table, she was not a snake in the grass. Another side of her personality. If you ever got a card from the caring table, there's a good chance that Charlotte wrote it. She always knew the right thing to say in her quiet way, if I remember correctly, in very nice handwriting. And so I really appreciate her volunteer work there and getting to know her at the caring table.
I have to admit that I was surprised to learn that Charlotte's nickname at poker night was the Snake. The Charlotte I knew was so kind and thoughtful and generous. Apparently poker brought out a whole nother side to her personality, that cutthroat, competitive part that takes joy in defeating your best friends at the table. Charlotte earned a bachelor degree in chemistry in 1969 and worked in a laboratory before her master's degree in computer science in 1974. This is the era of the campaign for the Equal Rights Amendment. This is an era when many women were breaking into predominantly male-dominated fields, and so Charlotte did her part to break the glass ceiling. 2 days after she graduated with her master's, she married her husband, Clarence. Now, Clarence told me that when Charlotte was young, a young boy actually proposed to her when she was a child, and so Clarence was her second proposal. And we're glad she held out for that second proposal. The two were married by the Reverend John Burens in this congregation, and so their connections to this congregation go way back. Charlotte and Clarence raised their son Aaron in this church, who went with David Massey on the Boston trip through New York City and metropolitan Boston, and a place where angels and youth advisors fear to tread. Charlotte enjoyed camping at the nearby Indian Boundary Campground. If you've never been there, go there. It's an absolutely gorgeous place to spend time. A beautiful mountain lake with a trail around the lake and a wonderful place to swim. Clarence and Charlotte enjoyed traveling across the country, going to national parks like Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. And Charlotte had mobility issues, so great care had to be found to find ways that were accessible, outdoor experiences that were accessible that she could enjoy. And Charlotte loved to walk along the Songbird Trail at Norris Dam, a nice level trail along the flowing waters of the Clinch River. It's a beautiful trail nestled between the ridges of that river valley, and Charlotte called this her happy place. Charlotte and Clarence also enjoyed visiting gardens, and especially some of those in historic homes around Charleston. Charlotte loved literature, and one of the things that Clarence and Charlotte would do together is read to each other. That was something they would do, and they would read not just short books. The two read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's 3 books for a total of 1,137 pages. Other books included Where the Crawdads Sing and A Day in the Life of a Lady Salesman. Charlotte and Clarence were both members of the East Tennessee Vegetarian Society, and Clarence became the vegetarian first, and Charlotte followed soon after. But they enjoyed not only good food, but the company and the community that's built around good food. She enjoyed her volunteer activities here at the church, including the Flower Committee and the Caring Committee, where it's not easy to write a card. You know, when somebody's been ill or somebody's in the hospital, it's not easy to find the right words to say, and that was a gift that she had. She was never a member of the choir as far as I know, but her favorite hymn was How Can I Keep From Singing, which is a song about finding joy in the midst of suffering, finding hope in the midst of suffering. And the words to that song are, my life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I catch the sweet, though far-off hymn that hails a new creation. No storm can shake my inmost calm while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It finds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? Charlotte Morrison's life was not without its challenges. She knew the struggles of disability, recovering from a stroke, the hardship of Alzheimer's, and yet she had a song in her heart. We might say of her the same words that Nat King Cole used to sing, the song is over, but the melody lingers on. We hear her in the sound of birds. So next time we are on the Songbird Trail, let us listen for her in the music of those songbirds, those birds that cannot keep from singing. And let's remember to appreciate the music of all God's creatures, including the snake. I invite you to join with me in a responsive reading. Your words are really simple. It's, we remember her. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, in the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, in the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, in the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, whenever we walk on a greenway and feel like we are in our happy place, whenever we're playing poker and we feel like being a snake, whenever we walk in a garden or plan a trip to a national park. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is a part of us as. So let's join together in singing Charlotte's favorite hymns. Rise and body your spirit, for my life flows on in endless song, better known as How Can I Keep From Singing? As we go forth into the world, let's keep singing. And may the light of Charlotte Morrison continue to shine in all who knew and loved her as we go out into this beautiful world and enjoy the company of good friends, the competition of good games, and a community of loved ones. Go in peace.
Sherry.
Thank you for all you do.
I know,